Good morning. I hope I am audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Audible. Good morning, sir, and welcome to today's session. Today we are going to discuss the second unit of understanding drama, which is our study material, the only theory program in this entire diploma in theatre arts, that is understanding of drama, that is BTH 001. The unit one is already done by Dr. Elango in the last session. So today I thought I will do the second unit, that is the aspects of drama, that is unit two. Generally, what happens is in counseling sessions of open and distance learning system, uh, the students or the learners are expected to read the study material before the counseling class, because it is not a lecture session. Unless in conventional system we will take up a lecture session, entire subject is taught in the lecture form, lecture demo or whatever. But here we will do it as only a counseling session, in the sense that you are already reading this material, and you are trying to understand, because it is a self-learning material. That's why we call them at SLMs, SLM. So you read that, and you come prepared. You know something. You have some pre-knowledge about that topic, and again the counselor will discuss the salient points of that particular unit. That is called counseling. So today also I am trying to do that. I am trying to cover most of the topics discussed in that unit. Uh, then, after my completion of presentation, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay. Now I'm going to share my PPT. Okay. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, Bharadwaj, you are audible.
Yeah. Yeah. My presentation is also visible, I hope.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It is BTH 001 is the course code, and the title of the program is Understanding of Drama, and we are discussing the unit 2, that is aspects of drama. Okay. Welcome to today's session. Very good morning to all of you. And today we are going to cover the following topics. What are the basic objectives of this unit? And a small introduction about the unit. What is the dramatic structure, dramatic texture? And at the last, we are going to sum up the unit. Okay. So these are the topics to be covered today. And first, the objectives. The focus of this unit is on dramatic structure, which includes the understanding of plot, character, and the unities. And the dramatic texture, which has a wide range of from imaginary and symbolism to setting the props, from dialogue and the actions to acts and scenes. So we are discussing here in the texture. We are also talking about setting, what is actually setting, properties and the dialogues, what is action and the act, what is act and scenes, and what is the atmosphere, and setting of the tone of the play, and etc. This unit hopes to update the dramatic terminology and the aspects of drama which constitute a play in general. A play have many other things, like a play will have some acts, scenes, and then some dialogues, and some different techniques used by the playwright, such as dramatic irony and foreshadowing, and all that we are going to discuss today. And the interaction. Drama is the most dependent form of art forms. It is a dependent form because we need a director, actor, and some lines, a story, an actor, and then some action, setting, properties, costume, stage, and finally spectators. All are required to make it happen as a play. The play without all these ingredients, it is incomplete. In other words, if you have set, property, action, costume, space, and every damn thing, but if you don't have spectators, it cannot be called as a play. It is only a rehearsal. So, in order to call that as a play production, we need actor, director, lines, story, something to convey, maybe an idea or a space where we are going to enact this story or the idea, and the people in to watch this performance and give their immediate or response to the actors or the play production team. The play involves conflict, isn't it? Conflict. What is conflict? We will be discussing later. Action, crisis, and the atmosphere. The same is true with films too. In films also you find the same thing. Films is nothing but an extension to our theatrical plays. And the new entrants in this area are TV serials. You also see a TV serial which is designed in the form of episodes, episodic nature. Television serials have an episodic nature. In each episode, the same ingredients will work out. They will create some kind of crisis, conflict, or some action, or some create some atmosphere in that also. All these are entertaining to watch. They're basically meant for entertainment, and we in theater we also provide some didactic inputs into the play. So we are not only entertainment, we also provide some kind of education. That's why we call it that edutainment. There's a new word called edutainment in coming into the field. Theater is nothing but, it is not purely an entertainment or it is purely an education. It is edutainment. Same time we are giving you education and as well as entertainment. The play enjoyable to read as a text also. The words are the medium of that play. A play can be read only people, because in COVID situation, if you all find it, there are only play reading sessions. There people are not performing because of their many different conditions. So they are organizing a play reading sessions. A play is selected and the actors are chosen, and they will be sitting at one place. They are reading it, just like a radio play. If we are to do justice to the plays, it does seem to essential to take into account their unique nature as a sequence of situations that underline action. See what happens, each individual units of a play will be attached in a sequence to give a completeness, to give completeness to understand the what actually the actions are happening in the play. So drama is most peculiar. I said ki, it is a most dependable art form because it involves more and more people. But in a positive way, we can say that drama is a composite art. Composite art in the sense that we require literature, sculpture, architecture, lighting, actors, acting, and all that stuff, because it includes more and more people to involve. So that's why people have called it as a dependent art, but we teachers of drama and theater call it as a composite art. We require many things. We also require literature, songs, drama, dance, and acting, all that. So that's why the more drama is the most peculiar, because it requires to take the elements from every other science, every other humanities, law, logic, and everything. Sometimes without logic. Drama is the most peculiar, elusive, and enthralling of all forms of literature. Why it is literature? It starts as a literature, uh, and it culminates into a performance. In the sense key, from page to stage, the journey is nothing but a play production or drama, what we can call it as. It has a universal appeal. It has a universal appeal near to the deeper consciousness of the nation, in which it takes. I think somebody has opened his microphone. I request them to mute it. Hello, hello. Please mute your microphones, please. Okay. It is the capable of addressing a wide range of people, different epochs and cultures at the same time. That is the beauty of the play. You know, people in the audience, they are coming from different backgrounds, different nature, different strategies, different hierarchies of the society. But the play will address them, all of them, at a same tone. You know, we are not going to say that these dialogues are some for some particular people. No, we treat entire audience as one unit, and we are going to perform for all of them. A literary text reminds us a building. You know, a building will have a foundation, and then you have some iron and a slab, and then you are watering it every time to make it strong. In any literary work, the structure comprises story, whether it is novel or novella or a small short story or a play. It requires a story to tell, otherwise a idea to express, the characters and some action and the dialogues, whereas the texture is highlighted through the images and symbols and metaphors, settings, audio visual aids, and etc. Okay, thus the dramatist presents life on the stage. One must grasp this wider meaning of the play, which is implicit in the action and characterization, the dramatic theme and the dialogues which reveal the soul of the play. How the story is revealed? Because through the characters of the play, the characters, the way they speak, the way they express, the way they pronounce, the way they articulate. You know, lines are the same, but somebody is articulating differently, it will give different meaning. They are trying to find out the between the lines. You know, lines are written, but there's an inner meaning that the actors are trying to come out. Otherwise, everybody can sit at their own places and read the play, enjoy it as a literary piece. But to find out what is the between the lines, the meaning of the between the lines, one should come to theater and watch the performance done by a live actor, a three-dimensional actor. So, drama structure. Drama structure, the first point is plot. Plot is the most important thing. As Aristotle said, plot is the soul of the tragedy. You know, the simplest definition of plot is the radical arrangements of dramatic incidents is known as plot. So plot is nothing but a story. Even if you are plotting an area, you will see from north to south, south to east, east to west, your plot, the plot in which you are going to build up your own home is in between these dimensions. So similarly, the playwright also will plot his story or the play, saying that he will arrange the dramatic incidents in such a way that it should reflect a logic. A radical arrangement is nothing but the logical arrangement. What action should come? What action should come first? Then which of the action is to be proceed? And then what is the peak action? And after the peak action, what is going to, at the end, and whether it is a happy ending or a tragic ending, he will decide. That is the plot, the radical arrangements of dramatic incidents. In a human life, like in my life, maybe your life, there are many dramatic incidents happens. If you take your age now, 0 to 50 years of age, there are many dramatic incidents. All those dramatic incidents cannot be taken as a resource for writing a play. We will choose what is the most dramatic incident, what is the most interesting point in your life. Those incidents will be plotted in the form of a story or a plot, and later the playwright will use his language to build up a play. A play is more inclusive form, a fully developed version of the play. Plot is the most inclusive term. It is fully developed version of the story. First, you build up a story, and then you write a plot, and then you complete it in writing your lines, and the final version will be called as a play. It takes account of the nature of the characters, the way in which events are related to each other, and their dramatic effect. With the every incident, as I told you, it should be very logically netted. Then the action will should move forward. You know, there will not be any dragging in between. The plot talks about overall significance of the play. See, overall significance. There is one line also. The another line is theme. Theme is nothing but the single line order of your entire play. For example, I say Satyameva Jayate. That is my theme. So if you see this play, you can finally understand. If you see the play of Raja Harishchandra, what will be the theme of the play? Satyameva Jayate. I'm not talking about the entire story of Satya Harishchandra, but I'm just saying that theme of the play. What is your theme of the play? My theme of the play is, Satyameva Jayate, or hard work will, never. Hard work will give you fruits at the end of the day. So you have to work hard. Something like that. One line order. In films, you find some tagline. Nowadays, every film has a tagline. The tagline is nothing but it is reflecting the entire theme of the film or the play. The plot, Aristotle termed as mythos, in dramatic or narrative work is constituted by a number of events as they are presented in the order so that a specific artistic effects are created or achieved. The plot and characters are interdependent because plot once the plot is created, it will move forward with the only help of characters. If you create only characters, it doesn't help. It requires plot also. So put it into Henry James' words. What is character but the determination of the incident? One incident is there that will create you certain characters or characterization. What is an incident but the illusion of the character? What is the incident? It is nothing but the illustration. Illustration, he talks about the illustration of the character. The dramatic structure again, more inputs into this. The dramatist is given the task of providing actors with such dialogues as will enable them to adequately to interpret their parts and at the same time or complete in harmony. Nicole writes, any dramatist sets to work, he will have all outset three things to determine the theme which it is to be dealt with, the characters by which means them the theme is to be displayed, the medium, it is nothing but the actual dialogue through which both are given expression. Thus, the plot is the main entity which will having main three things which he talks about. It is nothing but the plot, and first we have a theme, then we have a plot, then we are having some characters, and then we are having some actual lines to achieve the entire story to be enacted before the audience. Okay, so plot, I have already explained. There are many types of plots, which is having a simple plot, complex plot, compound plot, and we will be discussing later. Okay. Uh, the beginning initiates the main action, and it is also known as exposition. The middle represent actually what happens in a plot. It will have a starting point and a middle point and an end point. Every plot will have a 3 points, three major sequences, which will be representing a beginning of the story, and the middle of the story, and the end of the story. The beginning is called as an exposition. The middle is called will be reaching at the climax, and the crisis come out through the revelation of what is happening. The afterward we will call the action. The raising action again will fall, which we call denouement, and final resolution takes us to the end of the play. So, German critic Freytag introduced a pyramidal structure of the plot, which is very famous. Uh, this actually the pyramidal structure he designed it to the typical plot of a five-act play. Five-act play. What is act we will be discussing later. So this is five-act play. Uh, in the sense, the every play in earlier days they used to have five acts. What are the acts? The play is divided into five major parts, which is each part is called as one act. First act, second act, third act, fourth act, and fifth act. Okay, and recognition is also happens at the moment. This is the recognition by the protagonist of something essential and important. What is that? Well, who is this protagonist? Protagonist is nothing but the main character. In simple words, he is the hero of the play. We call them as a protagonist. An antagonist is nothing but the villain of the play. These two people, they are working for their own objectives. In between them, there will be a conflict. Conflict crisis arises. and each one of them, they are trying for to achieve their goals, and finally protagonist is going to achieve his goals because his intentions are more useful to the society or to the mankind. So ultimately he wins the goals, whatever they will, and finally in similar way the entire story will be repeated. The plot evolves, it arouses expectation as well as surprise. In each story, audience can expect, yes, this is going to happen, but in between, the playwright will create some kind of a surprise. The interplays of suspense and the surprise is nothing but the plot. The way the plot is, netted, you will have some suspenses in between and some surprises also. The conflict in drama, as I told you, it will arise between the two characters. It can be arises between two characters or the two ideas, or it can arises between two groups also. It can be a protagonist antagonist group, or only a antagonist protagonist, or between two ideas there is a difference of opinion, that we call it as a conflict, or between two characters, situations, and in a larger sense, a larger forces which exist in the play. Still, each development must follow a logical form of preceding development. What happened precedingly, it should take it logically to further, to every situation that arises in the course of the play has to be logical and convincing, otherwise there is a miscommunication happens in the minds of the audience, what exactly happening on the stage in the form of play which is going to be performed. A plot may have a subplot, in the sense that the second story, which is completely run parallel to the main plot. In your films also, you can see a comedy track is running to the parallel to the main track. The subplot seems to be broaden our respective on the main plot, which also sometimes helps the main plot, and sometimes it runs parallelly. And now I'm talking about the characters. What is the character? The people involved in the action of the play are referred as characters. We assume them on the basis of what they say and they do. What can a character will do? They will come onto the stage, they will speak, they will fight, they will cry, they will express some ideas. Okay, these are the characters, and each character is an individual type. In the sense each character is created by the playwright such a way that each characters will look like an individual type or a character, or representing a distinct trait to their speech and deeds. Deeds are nothing but action. If they are saying the similar lines or doing similar actions, there will be monotony. So in creating a character, the playwright will take a precaution that each character he or she is going to create should have a distinct uh, you know uh, trait or distinct way of speech or the actions to be performed. So Aristotle calls character as ethos, the moral element. The diaonia is the intellectual element, or the two basic elements that constitute a character. A moral element and intellectual element is needed to create a character. The main character is called, as I told you, protagonist. The opponent is called as antagonist or the villain. The character may remain stable or may undergo a radical change, but he should be consistent from the beginning to the end. Whatever the change is happening, the change should also be consistent. In the sense ki a good man becoming a bad in between, suddenly he cannot become a very good man again. So that consistency should be maintained. Every character can be analyzed in terms of its physical dimension, psychological dimension, and also the sociological dimension. It is true in analyzing and also in creating a character. Once you want to create a character, you have to think a character in terms of its physical dimension, in the sense that the way the character appears before your naked eyes, and what is his attire or her attire, what is psychological dimension of that particular character, how he thinks about certain issues in the society, and what is his sociological background. So if you can make out these three things perfectly, chalk down, scribble these three things, you can also create one particular character. So now coming to the important element of three unities. Every play will have unities, but these rules are being broken many times by the playwrights because of change of time. The three unities are nothing but the unity of time, unity of action, unity of place. The unity of action means that the action represented by a play should be approximate uh, the actual conditions of staging of the play. The unity of place that it should happen in a single location. The entire play or the entire act or entire scene is going to be enacted in one single location. In within one act, you cannot shift your locations to too many. The first scene is in first line is in earth, the next line is heaven, and then third scene in the in some different location. No, unity time means the time should be limited to 2 or 3 hours to enact the entire play, or the story which happens between in a 24-hour story, it should be performed. Why? Because these structures are coming up. Earlier days in the Greek play, only three actors used to perform many characters. So using their different masks. So unity of time, unity of action, unity of space. I mean unity of place should be maintained because the audience should not get confused. They used to perform only the story happened in only 24 hours. That is the unity of time. We are not going to stretch our story for years together. But the same, these three unities are broken when the Elizabethan and the later theater structures evolved because of their requirement, because of their social structures, how they are going to develop. So all these things more or less affected the unities. Okay, for the sake of understanding or for the analyzing the plays, we must understand these unities, but these unities are no more followed as a rule point because time and again the playwrights are, breaking these rules and coming up with new structures. So drama structure, now we are coming to act and scene. An act is an important division of action of the play. In British drama, the division was introduced in Elizabethan dramatists, and there were 5 acts. As I told you, each play was written in 5-act structure. In 19th century, there were 4-act structure, and in 20th century, non-musical dramas constitute only 3 acts. So in film also, we can see these 3-act structures are coming up. Structure A, Act 1 is the starting point, Act 2 is the middle point, Act 3 is the final. In a sense, the Act 1 and Act 3 will be a smaller position for parts of the film, and Act 2 will be a bigger position, which majorly revolves around the main action of the film. So we are in films, we are following 3-act structures. The acts are again subdivided into scenes. Each act will be divided into many scenes. In recent times, plays are in a sequence or scenes, and there are no major acts at all. We are doing in acts only. In Shakespeare, plays were divided into 5 acts, and each act is containing many scenes. But when it comes to Brechtian plays, they were only divided into scenes. There is no acts. In the sense, the Brechtian plays are more written in a episodic nature. When it comes to Indian plays, the Kalidasa plays, you can find the act structure again here. Okay. See, these one act and scene can be differentiated easily by two following dramatic representation. The curtain falls only after act ends, and the scene can be changed just by dimming a light. Intermission is usually between 2 acts. A scene is an independent unit marked by continuity of the action without any change of place or a break in the time. In scene, you cannot change a place or change the time. So that is one condition you have to follow. One of the most productive ways of discussing a play is to focus on individual scenes. For each scene will tell us a lot about the plays as a whole. In the sense that if you want to analyze a play, better you analyze all the scenes of the play so that you can understand. In scenes also we have two types of scenes. One is called French scene and the other is English scene. French scene is nothing but a scene in a continuation where suppose two characters are speaking and third character enters into the scene. Before he or she speaks, there is a division. Up to that part, it is known as a French scene. Okay. An English scene is nothing but the entire scene is designed on the one locale. Suppose one scene is happening entirely in one location, you can discuss, you can analyze those scenes. But French scene is most mostly used for analyzing the scene in our theater or dramatic classes. Okay, aside, see, this is something which are talking about the major techniques used by the parent. Aside is nothing but the lines are whispered to the audience or to the other character on the stage, not meant to be heard by all the characters on the stage. Suppose you want to speak, you are a character, you want to speak something to your fellow character, and you don't want others to listen this, and you make a gesture near your mouth and whisper some lines to your fellow actor, or you are directly speaking to the audience. He doesn't know what he is doing. For example, I say, he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't want these lines to be heard by the antagonist or the protagonist, but I am just addressing my audience. Sometimes the purpose is to inform the audience what exactly happening, or the idea which is going in the form of the play which is already running into the performance. Comic relief, it is the bit of humor injected into a serious play to reveal the heavy situation and tension of tragic events. So sometimes a comic character suddenly comes into a very tragic play and do some humor and get away with that. Because see, while performance is going on, people will feel dejected or more involved into these tragic situations. To give them some kind of a relief, a character will come, a group of people will come and do some comedy or a bit of humor, and then they take an, a, take an exit. This is actually a theatrically device which is frequently used in Elizabethan tragedies, not in Greek tragedies anyway. Now, the next item is Deux Machina. Deux Machina is nothing but the meaning of this is a god from the machine. It describes the practice of some Greek playwrights, especially Euripides, used to incorporate this Deux Machina. Suppose there is a conflict which cannot be resolved by either the protagonist or the antagonist or any human characters available in the play. Suddenly, God appears, in the sense that a machine will come, a god will be standing on that machine, and he or she will be, resolving the situation. For example, in your all movies also, there is a conflict. Suddenly, Lord Shiva or the Vishnu appears and say, if Arjuna and Krishna are fighting, suddenly Lord Shiva comes and says, no, 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 you are equally strong people. Please don't fight. If you fight, the entire universe will be, destroyed. So in that way, they are going to create. This is also a theatrical device, Deux Machina. This is now also we are following in many of our Puranic films and serials. And foreshadowing is nothing but this indicates the lines that gives a hint or clue to the future events. Foreshadowing is nothing but it can be a theatrical apparatus also. Sometimes you see a knife table in center of the stage, and at the end of a act or a scene, the light is just focused on that. It is lying from the act one also. It gives some impression that with this knife something is going to happen. It gives you some kind of a future action is going to happen. Similarly, there can be some lines can also be used. Flashback, I think you know it. It is the other again the technique. We're taking back time. We are taking back the people to the past tense and discussing the events. This can be done in the usage of chorus. Chorus is used in Greek plays. Many of the. Then what happened on that day? The entire group is shouting these lines, and the scene will change, and it will go into the past tense, and it will come in again. It will bring back to the present. So dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is nothing but the method of expression in which the ordinary meaning of the word is opposite to thought in the speaker's mind, and in the events are contrary to what would be naturally expected. Simple terms, if I would like to explain. Suppose in a play, a thief has entered into a house. As an audience, we know that he is a thief, but the characters which are there acting on the play, they don't know that he's a thief. So this is called something dramatic irony. The interesting point is that when this thief is going to reveal he or herself as a thief, That is the interesting point. That is nothing but dramatic irony. Again, it is the in a serious note also, the dramatic irony is also incorporated, but I'm not going to discuss that because I want you people to understand what is dramatic irony. That's it. Okay. And then mask. It is then introduced in the Renaissance Italy and flourished in England. It is an elaborated form of court entertainment that combined the poetic drama, music, song, dance, costume, stage, and spectacle. Okay, the characters were masked at the and doffed with their masks. And the next item is motif. It is a conspicuous element such as a type of an incident, dance, reference, or a formula which occurs frequently. What is the motive? Motive of that particular character or incident. And pantomime, it is a dumb show. It is to enact on the stage without any speech, using only posture, gesture, bodily movement, and exaggerated facial expressions. Pantomime, pantomime, we have another word called mime. Mime and pantomime. What is the difference between mime and pantomime? Pantomime is the same without any speech, using gestures and doing some actions. But whereas pantomime will have an idea and a storyline to tell without using the speech, using only postures and gestures. For example, all your Charlie Chaplin movies are the best examples for pantomime show. They are dumb shows, but they also reveal some kind of a story. There is a story behind that. Not only the dumb show, which also reveals a story. It invariably use music to support the actions. Okay, poetic justice. Poetic justice is nothing but every character abruptly ending or not giving a particular finishing. It should not be the case. So playwright will try to justify each and every character which he has created. So that is more or less we talking about the poetic justice. Setting is nothing but the environment, creating the general locale, historical times, social circumstances in which the action occurs. Setting is synonymous to the decor in the sense the design, which denotes the scenery and properties used in the play. Okay. Soliloquy is another technique used by the playwright. It is the act of talking to oneself, usually aloud, and when the character is alone on the stage. Even one person speaking to himself or addressing to the audience, only one person speaking, and no one is on the stage. This is the dramatic representation of the character's inner thought. It is nothing but the inner monologue. Inner monologue is, vocalized outside. It is nothing but the soliloquy. This theatrical device is used for the purpose of exposition and to guide the judgments and represent responses to the audience. The purpose of such speeches is reflect on the wider significance of the action. Okay. For example, Marlowe's Dr. Faustus opens with a long expository soliloquy and concludes with another which expresses the Faustus' mental and emotional condition. Okay, now let us sum up. Now we have seen character, plot, three unities, what is atmosphere, setting, drama, how drama can be called as a dependent form, and how it can be analyzed as a composite art form, and all that stuff. Okay, thank you very much for the today's session. And now I request if there are any questions that can be asked. This is unit 2, aspects of drama, in a theoretical program called Understanding Drama, that is BTH 001. Yeah, any questions from any part? Sumit Arora. Yeah,
Hi, sir. Good morning, sir.
good morning, Arora.
Sir, can you please explain the difference between pantomime and mime once again? Like it was not matlab,
Okay.
in detail.
Yeah, because there are two words like mime and pantomime.
Yes, sir.
Mime is nothing but the as I told you, it is also having it is also having some kind of a physical expressions without any lines. Pantomime may also having the similar elements, but pantomime will have a storyline to tell. Mime need not tell you a story, entire story. If you are enacting, for example, you are just eating a banana, that you can mime, and that event can be completed there itself. There is no story in that, story as such. But if you are enacting a story, entire story, a thief and a police story enacted in a mimetic performance, that we can call it as a pantomime, because in that performance we are going to actually represent or enacting an entire story, not only a simple action. That is the difference between the what you call mime and pantomime.
So sir, every time like when there is this performance, जब पूरा का पूरा theater होता है और उसमें like there is this mime performance, we never call it mime, we always call it pantomime.
पैंटोमाइम में स्टोरी होता है, यही डिफरेंस है ना.
Yeah.
एक कहानी में बता रहा हूँ आपको, एक कहानी एक कार्य, मतलब अभी मैंने बोला चाय पी रहा हूँ, ये भी माइम हो सकता है, मगर
जी.
इसमें कोई कहानी नहीं है. अगर मैं चोर और पुलिस का स्टोरी पूरा बताना चाहता हूँ, दैट यू कैन कॉल इट एज अ पैंटोमाइम.
Entire production. Got it, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Fourth
And
one,
but
sir.
to the extent, to the extent of,
Ramana, please.
Sorry, Dr. Bharadwaj.
Yeah.
To the extent of your explanation regarding mime and pantomime, I want to say one thing, that mime can go beyond imagination. Beyond your imagination, you can create a situation with the mime performances. That does not need to be a realistic performance. Okay, non-realistic, unrealistic way you can perform mime. But pantomime is not like that. Pantomime, basically, mostly you will stick on to realistic incidents. Yeah, that's
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Sir, may I?
Yeah.
Sir, may I?
Elango, sir.
May
Please.
I?
Go ahead.
Pantomime is generally meant for children. Mime can have any extension of serious themes, just as Samuel Beckett's Act Without Words. It talks about the absurdity of life. So a mime theme can reach to any extent of cognition, whereas a pantomime is mostly performed for children. For example, such Christmas pantomime, and if you say pantomime villain, then you don't take that villain very seriously.
Seriously.
So so pantomime is generally meant for children.
Done.
Thank you for the.
Thank you, Elango,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other question? Pavan, sir, please share the PPT with us. Why not? We'll do that. I'm going to share the entire video with you once it is edited. Bhavya Mittal. Yeah, Bhavya. Yeah. Bhavya, क्या question है? Yeah, follow.
Good afternoon, sir. I was just reading the unit 2 as you had asked us to read it.
Yeah.
So in it, both the terms motif and theater were mentioned, and the dictionary meaning of motif states theme as well. That motif means theme.
Yes.
But in the text, it was explained as something a bit different. So different.
Yeah, more or less, it carries the same meaning. But theme is like a single sentence. में अगर हम बताना चाहते हैं, the entire what is exactly the essence of the entire play, we can call it as a theme. Motives can be like contextualized.
Okay.
Motive can be contextualized to one kind of a situation, one kind of a character, one small incident which is happening. But theme is it belongs to the entire play. It cannot be contextualized.
Okay.
What is the
Thank
theme
you,
of this
sir.
particular situation? No. What is the theme of this entire play? You can say. Motive is it can be one scene, one character, or one kind of an argument. Okay, that is the major.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
There is
Pauli
something
Sharma.
called motif.
Yes,
There
sir.
is something called motif. MOTIF. Closely related to drama. Motif means a recurring event or recurring idea in not a dominant idea, but a recurring. So that is called motif in theater, in drama. MOTIF.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mauli.
Yeah, Namaskar, sir.
Yeah.
As you explained that there are two types of scenes, French scene and English scene.
Yeah.
Could you please elaborate on that?
No. I was just French scene. मैंने बताया था ना आपको. French scene is nothing but in a scene. Suppose two characters are speaking. Rama and Sita, for example. Rama and Sita, the two characters are speaking. and suddenly Lakshmana enters into the character and he also starts speaking, suppose. So before he speaks, whatever the Rama and Sita were talking, that will be cut into one unit, and which is known as a French scene. Because in a scene when two people are talking and when third character enters and he also starts speaking, the thought process of that particular scene will change, isn't it? The two people are speaking something differently and suddenly somebody enters and he speaks something else. So the idea of that particular scene will change further when the third person speaks. So that's why to analyze that one particular scene before speaking of that third character, the unit will be cut into one unit, which is known as French scene. I was just giving an example of English scene because the entire scene happens in one single location. Let us say a jungle में एक location हो रहा है, पूरा scene वहाँ enact हो रहा है. That can be analyzed as an English scene because there is a lot of philosophy because why it is called French scene, why it is called English scene. That is a bigger discussion point. We are not going to discuss here because that goes into many more philosophies of French idealism and English colonialism. So we are not going into that. But what I'm saying is a French scene is that scene. दो लोग बात कर रहे हैं and when third person enters, before he speaks, he or she speaks, whatever happened between the first two characters is regarded as one particular unit and it has been cut is proposed there, and that unit is called as a French scene for analysis. Okay.
Yes, thank you. So one more question. As in plot, you have explained Gustavo Freytag's. So what is Freytag's pyramid?
Pyramid structure is nothing but how the starting point, middle point, and end point we are talking about. You can just see in internet also there is a Freytag gap which is pyramidal. In a triangular format, it happens. Starting exposition, middle action, rising action, falling action, denouement, climax, how these entire story progresses from starting to end point. He tried to represent the events in the form of a graph. If you want, I will share you the image in the group. Okay.
So is it the thing what Freytag is saying, a plot?
No, he's talking about the units in the plot. He's not talking about the plot as such.
Oh, okay.
These are the units. These are the what is the starting point is called, what is the middle point, and what is the peak point we call it as, and what is the climax we call it. And that this is a graphical representation of your story. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Anyone else? Sumit again, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Once again, sir, this is a little out of context, but I think this is something all of us want, sir, because like we all are stuck in online platform, like we are all are here, and of course we can't do a lot of stuff. But sir, can we please experiment with this online platform only? Can we create an online production, like if you permit and if you direct us, like honestly, this is from everybody.
Yeah, I can understand, but I don't know the result. But anyway, we will think and come out with some kind of a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sir. Please, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other question? And see, I think there were some mail from the regional centers asking us about submission of assignment and all that. Because you people have joined in January 2021 batch. Okay, nothing has happened for you as such in the form of counseling except our online classes, because and the July admissions are also on. I haven't given any assignments as such which were uploaded in the website, IGNOU website. So I have taken permission. I'm taking permission from the authorities to club the January and July sessions because there's a lot of time has been lapsed because there is a loss if we immediately conduct the exams in the December. So doing nothing and getting a certificate, it won't work out. So my plan is to, once the things are settled down, so both the batches will have offline counseling sessions at their respective program study centers. And then in the meantime, I will try to update the assignments and I'll give you information when you people need to submit the assignments. That is one point I would like to make, because Elango sir also forwarded message. One learner Deepthi has forwarded me the message. That this is what I am trying to convey you people, that ki assignment मैं अभी दूंगा, I will give you, but it will take time, because we are only left very little time for the January batch to be completed. That's why I am trying to club the January and July batches, and then we'll do some examinations later. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. यस सर, जस्ट मुझे वो पूछना था, स्टडी मटेरियल का अभी क्या जो हार्ड कॉपी है उसका भी क्या स्टेटस है?
सर हार्ड कॉपी का प्रिंटिंग में अभी चल रहा है, अभी भी मेरे पास वो आ रहे हैं प्रिंटिंग के लिए, मैंने रिक्विजिशन दिया है. बट इफ यू वांट ए रेफरेंस मटेरियल, इट इज अवेलेबल इन इग्नान कोर्स. आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, you can download it, and you can, for just seeing the sake, just the sake of looking at the material, you can download it. But physically it will take time, 1 month at least 1 month. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the pandemic time, no printer is ready to print these materials. That is the situation here. That is the simple reason I have uploaded all my study material in Ignan course, so that at least the learners will have a look what exactly the material means. That's what I have done up to this moment. Okay, sir. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, if there is no questions, I take it granted that we are coming to the end of today's session. Thank you very much for that session, and next session I will inform you in advance. Okay, I will try to forward the recording of this particular counseling session today and forward it into the group. Okay, share the same thing. Even PPT if you want, I will share it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bardwaj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Elango sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Bhavya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good day. Namaskar.